Okay, so I'd like to thank our participants for coming along today, and our special guest speaker, Nicola Doubleday, for coming along doing the webinar presentation a bit later. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be uploaded onto our website for future reference, and also for anybody who wasn't able to attend today. I have muted everybody's microphones, but later on, if you've got a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Or if Nicola, if there's any interaction, then please just unmute yourself. Or if you prefer to pop something in the chat, just pop it in there and we can answer it for you. Before I hand the floor over to Nicola, I'd just like to go through some of the opportunities that Uttlesford Council have on offer for our businesses. So this is our economic development team. There's myself, Sarah and Rachel, and we're here to provide on-hand support for any business support advice. We also signpost for any financial advice and for any grants that are available. As well as today's presentation, we have one additional webinar for the Digital Boost Week, and that's going to be next Wednesday on the 15th, and that's called Digital Tools to Help Promote Your Business. There is still some availability on there, so if you'd like to go onto our website and sign up. As well as the webinars, we have a Digital Boost for Business grant. So this is £250 up to a maximum of £2,500, and this is match funded. And these are for our businesses that are wanting to develop or improve their digital assets. Some of the items that you can apply for are for a new business website or an upgrade to an existing website, online booking system, e-commerce platform, creation of mobile app, digital skills training, cyber courses, cyber security training. There's also other things that you can apply for. If you go onto our website, the information's on there. We also have 4 other grants. We have our business startup grant. That's for £2,500, match funded again, and that's for any businesses that are 2 years old or younger. We have our High Street Premises Enhancement Fund. That's £5,000 match funded, and that's if you want to improve the front of your premises. We have our Rural England Prosperity Fund, and we also have our Low Carbon Workplace Grant. On our website, we have a free to download startup guide, and this has all of the information you need to know for running a day-to-day business. We've recently improved our business directory. This is resident facing, so our residents will see your business. It also helps if our businesses want to collaborate with other businesses. So if you haven't already done so, I would strongly advise you to go and sign up for this. We are now accepting applications and nominations for our Business Awards 2024. There are 12 categories. You can enter in multiple categories. You don't just have to pick one, and you can also nominate other businesses. So if you know of a business that you'd like to nominate, or if you'd like to apply yourself, then please go onto our website and apply. We also have our e-newsletter. So this goes out fortnightly, and it's a great way to keep up to date with all the advice and support that we have. So if you haven't already subscribed, I would strongly advise you to do so. Okay, without any further delays, I'd like to hand the floor over to our guest speaker, Nicola Doubleday, who's going to present today's webinar. Thank you, Nicola.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, to everyone. I'll just get my presentation up. Okay.
Brilliant.
That comes through. Okay,
Yep.
So do you want to save time? Do you want to save money? Do you want your business data to be safe? If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to participate, feel free to jump in now. But I'm assuming that, yeah, the answer to each of those questions is, of course you do. You want to save yourself time, you want to save yourself money, and you want your business data to be kept safe. So you're in the right place to do that. My name is Nicola Doubleday. I work for Essex Police as a cyber prevent and protect officer, and today's input is for businesses. A little bit about the history. I feel that it's important that you should know who we work with. So GCHQ and the National Crime Agency, National Cyber Security are who we work for. They are nationally managed, and then it comes down to regionally led by the Eastern Region Serious Organised Unit. And that comes down to local delivery from myself and my colleague Gavin Saunders, who are the Cyber Prevent and Protect officers. We get a lot of our information through those agencies and from Action Fraud. Just to give you a quick overview, we also promote the National Cyber Choices programme. So it's just in case you are a parent, teacher, educator, you know somebody on a board of governors, let them know about us. Cyber Choices is predominantly a programme that is aimed for young people who are on the verge of or committing low-level cybercrime. And it's that unethical behaviour we're trying to change to make it good. The more we change, the less risk you've got of being attacked because they'll be ethical instead of unethical. So cyber attacks come in many shapes and guises. The vast majority are very basic in nature, and they're carried out by relatively unskilled individuals. Basically, they're the digital equivalent of a thief trying your front door to see if it's unlocked or the door to your business premises. Our advice is designed to prevent these attacks. You'd not leave the door to your business premises open or insecure, would you? Well, I kind of hope you wouldn't. But this is effectively what you're doing by not being cyber aware. Have you considered what would happen if your website or social media platforms were hacked or you had been manipulated by social media engineering? How would you feel? What if you became a victim of malware? And there'll be an explanation of that coming up in the future slides, or of a ransomware attack. How would this impact not only you, but also your customers and suppliers? How would you recover from the attack? Who would you speak to? It's worth pausing for a thought. There's quite a lot of questions there. So in the next one, here are some traditional images that we think about when we think of cyber criminals and some of the problems that we've spoken to. The problem with this is there's a large association with neurodiverse people, and that's because they don't understand the risk of what they're doing. They don't see the impact. They're not confronted by the victim. They don't really appreciate that the impact is tidal. Excuse me. And what happens is these people will eventually grow up and they'll get more skilled and they'll become more able to carry out more complex attacks. And you can see that by the picture that's just been added in there. So that just demonstrates that if we don't change their behavior, then this is how it's going to evolve. So some of the terms that your business might have heard of or experienced are DOS, ransomware, malware, phishing, push phishing, emails, and email spoofing. So to explain a DOS or a DDoS, if you're not already aware of it, is think of a sink when it gets blocked up by debris. And the plug hole is trying to make its way down to the drain. When you clear the blockage, the water flows. That's effectively what's happening. Your servers are being bombarded, your site's being bombarded with loads of requests and information, and it disrupts your service because eventually your website will just go, I can't take any more of this, and it will just collapse. So therefore, you're losing time, you're losing money, potential sales. Ransomware is basically what it says on the tin. If your data is insecure, people will take it and they'll hold you to ransom for it. But some of the tips and hints that we'll give you going forward should prevent that. We should give you a better position. Maliciousware is designed to cause havoc on your system. Again, if you take some preventative measures, that should be a massively reduced risk. Then we'll talk about some phishing emails and spoofing. It's not a case of it won't happen to me. It's a case of it will happen to you, but when will it happen? And that's what we'd like you to do is by being prepared. Not, I'm assuming you heard that. It's basically is where do the cyber criminals aim for? If anyone wants to answer, feel free to call up. But basically, it's the end user on the keyboard, because you can still have a lot of these measures in place, but if you've got staff and they're not cyber aware, they're not bringing their cyber hygiene in from home, then they're potentially opening up your organization to these type of attacks that we've discussed. So again, yeah, once you're breached, boom, game over. You're only good as your poorest member of staff or the person on the keyboard. And then there's cause and effect. Staff training shouldn't be just once a year with cyber hygiene. It should be on a routine basis, because the more you practice it, the more you bring it in. But never fear, help is on hand. Not saying I'm Superwoman or Wonder Woman or Supergirl, but I am available to point you to those resources, and those we'll talk about in the slides coming up. But if you think about it for a second, like I say, if you outsource your IT, it's a less worry, but there are still those phishing emails that come through for mandate fraud, and we see this quite a lot. It's because of a man in the middle situation. It's quite a technical term, but that also has impacts. But the tips I'll give you help mitigate that effect. And we can do demonstrations to companies, individuals. We do it by interactiveness. You can either have Teams presentations, face-to-face presentations. We can do it interactively by our Lego decisions and disruptions theme, escape from the case, all of those type of things, which reinforces the message. So how can you protect your organization, whatever its size? It doesn't matter whether you're a one-man band or you're quite a large company. The only people we don't tend to work with at our level is the nationals, and that's because they've got their own specialist teams in place. When you think about cybersecurity, you're probably thinking, oh my God, this sounds so technical, or this is going to cost a fortune. And there are many suppliers out there who will offer security and some solutions. They cost money. However, we've got some details here of people where it won't cost, or it costs very little, to get you up and running and help you with that situation. You can also automate some procedures. That'll save you a little bit of time once you've got them up and running. Right, let's just move on. So police cyber alarms to help organizations. It's a piece of software that gets monitored, put onto your network, which monitors potential incoming risky traffic. It doesn't monitor the office conversations, and it doesn't monitor any emails going out. It's all about the potential threat and stopping that before it happens. And it interacts with the internet. So Police Cyber Alarm is an award-winning tool, and it can be funded, like I say, by the Home Office and the local forces. And if you want a referral to that, then you go onto their website, but you mention where you've heard it. So the Eastern Cyber Resilience is somebody who we also work with, and we don't share any person's data information who sends a report in, so don't worry about that. It won't have reputational effect from the police, because we don't discuss that information. But we may ask to share your information with the ECRC so that they can help you. And again, they have tiered levels of service. They have a free entry, and then they pay as you go up. They have a lot of people out there who are really specialized in some of the fields, and they can help you, because cybersecurity can be a minefield. When we say it's free, don't think of it as free, because people will think, oh, police, what do they know? It's actually paying for it in your business rates. You're paying for all of this through your council taxes. You're paying for it as you're going along. You're just not realizing it. So why would you not take up these opportunities and offers? They offer a number of support, training, consultations. They might also signpost you to some of the other National Cybersecurity Centre products. So Cyber Essentials is it leads nicely onto that. Cyber Essentials is like a self-assessment questionnaire. It relies on you being able to understand the questions and know your answers. And then there's a form that it gets worked out from there. Then there's the next part, which is Cyber Essentials Plus. That's basically the same thing, and then they will charge on top of that. Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus are the gold standard. You're looking to be dealing with people with that accreditation. If they've got that, you know that their cyber security is pretty good, and there's less likely that your data will be leaked in a data breach. So that is really worth looking at, and people are considering it more and more. Cyber Aware and Small Business Guide to Cybersecurity, as we discussed earlier on. What would you do? You don't know what your action plan is, and you may not have one in place. You may never have thought of it. A lot of people don't tend to think of cyber as a priority, when actually it's a big priority. So some of the tools that you can use, they're government-backed, industry-supported. They're to help organisations, possibly like yourself, to protect you from the most common forms of cyber attack. You can expect to see such tools as Escape in the Box, Exercise in the Box, and we'll come on to do that in a short while. These are all free resources. Some people don't like to do them themselves because they're not over familiar with how the process works, but this is something that Essex Police can support you with and will offer. And feel free to share this information with anyone else. It doesn't matter what size the organisation is, it's about raising the awareness and preventing you from becoming a victim. Just want to mention the Internet of Things. Now, I know that if you're not aware of it, the Internet of Things is things like Google speakers, smart TVs, anything like that. It's worth bearing in mind that that comes as insecure by design out of the box. I think that process is about to change. So if you've got any of these devices in your office, just be aware they might be listening to certain things that you're saying and picking up on that. That's how it learns. Some ways you can help yourself: threat assessments, asset audits. So a security threat is the intent and capability for a threat actor to take some adverse action against you. Threat assessment is basically a risk assessment. What's your vulnerability? What do you think you can do about it? How are you going to implement it? So these threat assessments are just there to make you think, how are they going to get me? What information can be used? How can I secure that? And it's used as part of protective security. And you just keep them updated as you go along. You might decide them just to do them manually. It depends on the size of your business. Asset audits are very important and they often get overlooked. So do you even know what your assets are? And we're not just talking about the hardware, we're talking about the software and the intellectual assets as well. Do you know what they are? Do you know where they are? Do you know who's got them? Passwords. So dealt with an investigation as a fraud investigator where asset audits should have come into play and could have been dealt with earlier on. Person had committed a fraud, they'd got passwords, logons, information for other staff from an off-the-shelf accounting package that they used. Once they left the company, they then tried to cover up the fraud by logging and using details. Had the company had the asset audit in the first place, they would have known. Maybe she hadn't got the devices to carry it out, but she would have had the intellectual stuff like the passwords and the login details. They should be changed and assessed as people come and go from the company, because they're some of the type of things that you could potentially open yourself up to. So it's quite important. And not only that, you'll know if the software's up to date on them. So backing up your data, this is another thing that can help you prevent you from suffering malware attacks and ransomware particularly. If you've got your data backed up, then you shouldn't, in theory, need to pay any ransoms. What should you back up and how often is down to the size of you and your organisation. If you're somebody that is trading and you're not updating computer systems that often, you might consider a weekly backup. It depends how much you're putting on there. If you're a bigger organisation, you might want to consider doing it daily. And I would always back up to at least 2 other devices. So a plug-in hard drive is a good one, or cloud storage might be another one. But if you've got your data in more than 1 or 2 places, it's, again, storage depends on yourself as to how easily you can get it back and up and running. People will try and put your data up for a ransom. They'll want the money off you. At the end of the day, you could pay that ransom, But what's to say they're not going to sell it on to the criminal underworld through the dark web anyway? What's to say you're not even going to get back and it might be further corrupted? So it's worth just not encouraging these people. Just look after yourself by implementing some of this behavior. Save it regularly, back it up regularly, make it so that you can access and reinstall it regularly if you need to. What sort of information you should back up, like I say, is down to you. It could be from treasured photos on a personal level to classified business documents. It's the stuff that's definitely going to be harder for you to get back. Some data loss can cause devastating effects. It can even compromise your personal identity. Backing up your data allows you to maintain a secure archive of your important files and information. You might not think you're at risk of a data loss from a cyber effect, but your device can accidentally destroy years of important data. So you've got it there. It's not a big loss. You may have only lost a day's worth of information. Surely, for a few minutes a day, setting that up and saving all that trouble later on, that's going to help you. So we go on to antivirus, patching, and supply chain. Antivirus, people take vitamins. Computers have antivirus. It's the electronic equivalent. If you look after your own health, why wouldn't you look after the health of your computer and your data? Patching. Patching is more a term I associate with mobile phones. So if you use your mobile phone to do some of your important documents on and you're using apps to do that, they'll have a little number flash up and it's for the updates and the patches. You need to do that regularly. Somebody has identified a vulnerability within the system. So if you cut yourself and you were bleeding, you put a plaster on straight away. That's effectively what patching's doing. It's plugging those gaps to slow down and block any leakages. Supply chain, we've already mentioned with the essentials. It's you want to deal with people who are relatively safe with their data and you want to be safe with yours. Because if they get breached, you could potentially be the victim of a future attack. Okay, so thank you for your attention on that part of this presentation. What I have got is a little game to play to do with phishing. If anyone wanted to partake in that, I'll get the I'll have to share the screen and do that. Let me just get that up for you. And this is one of the National Cybersecurity Centre's exercises in the box. So let me. Are you able to just swap the screen over so that we share it?
You want to share my screen?
Oh, there you go. It should come up now.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so are you now seeing the exercises in the box?
Yeah.
Okay, so here on the National Cybersecurity website, they have a number of ones, small, medium, micro sizes. So I've gone for a small one. There's a number that you can choose. So we look at passwords, for example. Passwords is a really good one. Passwords are the key to your door. So let's have a quick look at that. Let's just pull in that up. Go back to the start on this. You can see we've done it a few times before with some other organisations. It's quite a popular tool. So, using passwords, it tells you there, don't use the same password across numerous systems. Don't use predictable. We're looking at, instead of passwords, passphrases, and they should be random words. The longer, the more complicated. So I would think of something like, my dog's name is Jack as a password, but that going through an algorithm would be easier to crack than Jack dog is my name. So it's about, once you've got something, then take it another level and chop it and change it up a little bit, because then it's even harder to crack. Make a note of it where only you know where that note is. You can use password vaults and managers. Most of them are secure. You could even write it in a book, but obviously don't put the book on your bookshelf and mark passwords down the spine. We want to try and disguise it a little bit because they are so complicated. And if you ever get the chance, Michael McIntyre does a brilliant YouTube video on passwords. Right, so we've just covered that, but here we go. If you were looking at passwords, which one do you think is the most globally hacked? Any ideas?
Password.
Yeah, according to Have I Been Pwned, and that's a good website to check. That's been done quite a lot of times. And then if we work our way through, we'll see that yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well, 6. So which is the most hacked fictional character name? Which would you think was the most?
Superman.
You've played this game before, haven't you? Yeah, Superman is one that has been used quite a lot. And it'll be social engineering. You'll get these quizzes and they'll come through and they won't use all of this. It won't be dead obvious from the batting. It'll be a case of they organised crime groups sit behind these and they'll work tirelessly for ages building up a picture and they'll lay dormant and then they'll come and they'll take your data. So just be careful with what you're sharing. Too much sharing is not always a good thing. So a few discussion points here. If anyone wants to join in, feel free. So it's the risk around the how do you think, well, I've already kind of told you the answer, that people might exploit and obtain passwords for personal and work email accounts. Just go through that. So there, attackers often do brute forces and they carry out these attacks to get the passwords, and algorithms are running in the background. That's why I say if you've got a password, just think a little bit out of the box and make it that little bit harder by maybe flipping the middle and end words or the first and end words. Because as Michael McIntyre's video says, we all use password. Then you have to add a capital, and it's always the first letter that's the capital. And then you add the numbers, and I'll hold my hands up to it. Before I started this job, it would be literally the password with a capital letter at the start. Then it would be 1. And then you get that 6-month reminder to change it. And you know what? It'd change to 2. And then when they wanted a special character, it would be like password 2 full stop. And then when it comes up again, another, and you're thinking, I don't know, I can't think of these things. You get password 2 comma or password 2 exclamation mark, then password 3, and you're going through that whole cycle. And don't use it as long as you've got a separate password for your email, a separate password for your banking. Those 2 are safe. If you set up 2-factor authentication, there's not much chance of anyone getting through those. Anything else, I only have 3 passwords. Everything else gets stored to the browser, in the browser history, password manager or a password vault, and they're just used in there. And those ones, yeah, because there's nothing important that's going to affect me, then that you can use the same password. But I always have banking, email, 2-factor authentication, then everything else is the same. So you don't need to make it massively complicated. You could even probably use the same phrase, but it depends what you're using it for, jiggle it around in different ways. It's about that manipulation to make it a little bit harder. Right. And the next topic to discuss is password reuse. Yeah, just kind of covered this, haven't we? How many times do you use the same password? How many times? It just goes on and on forever. It's so hard to think of it. Or you can use password generators. They're another good form. I often think there's some of them that are out there that say, how strong is my password? You put in a password in, what happens to the information that you've just put in. I don't go with those. I just try and make my own up. So there are things out there to help you, but just be cautious of, like I say, if you're putting a password into a generator, where's that being stored? You know, you want to know where it is. So, best password out of those, going on the conversation we've had.
I'd say the Red House Monkey.
Yeah, that's going to be the best one. And you see what I mean? It's slightly different to the rest. The ones with the S's changed to 5s and the 0s and O's get changed around quite a lot. Dates of birth, children's names, those kind of things are all easy to run through algorithms, and that's what's going to happen. So a scenario here, something that we should consider: logged onto a laptop, you can't get access due to an incorrect password. You check and confirmed, you think you're putting the right one in, you've got the ability to change it, and this is basically what the hackers are going to do. Is they'll go through and it's a case of resend, 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 and eventually it'll break and it will come back through to you. So just be aware of it. Somebody's already got into this and sent emails, and if you're like me, you'd be sat there going, what emails? I wasn't logged on at that time. And sometimes they've already opened it and clicked the link, the damage is done. And that's why I say it's about educating other members of staff as well. So create the strong password, use the 2-factor authentication, use different passwords, use stronger passwords for email, and store them in a secure manner. So not in the book with passwords written down the spine. That's not good, because anyone will get them, especially for the older people. You know, if you've got older relatives than that. Okay, and then when you do these exercises in the box, you fill in these statements, and then it will bring you up a report and tell you what you need to consider and how to change it. So these are very useful for smaller companies to use. The NCSC website has got lots of information. It's in there for businesses, it's in there for individuals and families. And that's kind of where we're at the moment on this particular one. Like I say, you can see from all the different titles that they have on there. Bit of a Q&A session, maybe a bit short, but anyone got any questions?
Doesn't look like it. No.
No questions in the chat?
No, nothing. I mean, if anybody has any questions at a later date, or if there's anybody that's listening to this as a recording, if they want to either contact Nicola directly, I'll send the slides out to everybody, or if they want to contact the economic development team, we can either put you in contact with Nicola or a team, or if we can answer your inquiries, we'll help you out with that.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I'm always open to that. Face to face, we'll talk to everyone about some of the issues. Just to make you aware, before we end this session, the issues at the moment for small businesses trading on social media platforms are being attacked and held to ransom. So just, it's worth checking your settings. Every time there's an update, check your privacy settings haven't been knocked out. Facebook used to be a really bad one a while ago, where every time there was an update, it would knock your privacy settings. It doesn't hurt to get into the habit of maybe once a week. I tend, because I don't use it that much, I tend to go on once a month, usually around payday, because that's the only day I really remember. And I just go through and check, because there are terms like tunneling and burrowing, where people can gain access to your accounts and cause damage that way. So that's something to be aware of. The other thing to talk about is the CEO emails that are coming out, and they're spearphishing, which is like middle management, and then whaling, which is, because we love these terms in cyber, you know, everything's got its own name. Whaling's the head of the company, and they'll come from those. They'll be from a cloned email, and you might not necessarily look at it, because it's usually that Friday 5 to 4 when you're ready to go out the door. There'll be a task that comes up and it'll say, want this action now, I need to change the bank details for this supplier. They need payment before the end of the day. So it's a case of just double checking. If it was me, I wouldn't have a problem with you calling me up and saying, is this right? Can I just check that this has got to be done today? This is the right details, because once you've paid it, it might not come back to you.
Lovely. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for that. There's a lot of knowledge you shared then. It's been really interesting. So,
Yeah, could go on
yeah.
forever.
Yeah. No, no, it was brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and like I said, I will be sharing the slides for everybody so they have all your information. And if if they want to contact yourself or us, then yeah, please feel free to do so.
Okay,
Lovely. All right then. Well, thank you very
thank you.
much. Take care
Thank you.
then. Thank you. Bye.
Oh my God.